Good morning, lovelies! Today's the day! I have launched the Kickstarter campaign to get the CaFae Latte book Heart of Iron written, published, and put on shelves. Most of the How to Kickstarter articles and videos I've consumed over the last 4 months have said, you should do a video, but keep it short like a commercial. You have questions, I have answers, and frankly way too much time on my hands, so this video is going to be longer than a commercial, and it is going to cover what Heart of Iron is about, how it differs from the CaFae Latte TikTok series, why I'm self-publishing it rather than going through a traditional publisher, how much that's going to cost, and what rewards you can get by contributing. If you don't care about any of that, don't let me stop you. If you're on YouTube, the Kickstarter link is in the description. Now, if you're new to the party, CaFae Latte is my ongoing TikTok series about a cafe run by fairies. Episodes regularly get between 80,000 and 150,000 views within the first 24 hours, and to date it's gotten me almost 275,000 followers. 300,000 is the goal for this year. Since I am also a published author, I thought, you know what, why not make this a book? Heart of Iron is the first of what will likely be a long series of books with the same characters and setting, though the story will be different. Think Marvel Comics versus Marvel Cinematic Universe. In Heart of Iron, our main POV character is Jennifer Charles. They are fresh out of prison and rehab, trying to turn their life around, and they get some luck when they land a position as baker at CaFae Latte, owned by the mysterious and powerful fairy known as Violet to the community, although JC nicknames her Bob. But it turns out that JC's dark and trauma-filled past is nothing compared to her 1,000-year-old fairy boss. Violet's enemies from the Fae realm come to kidnap her and drag her back to their realm for capital punishment, and they frame JC for the crime. In order to save their reputation and chance at a new, better life, JC teams up with another fairy nicknamed Cyrus and the witch Nicole to track her down and bring her home. Although they might not have to, as Violet spends the remainder of the book reminding her captors of why she was nicknamed the Iron Witch, or She with a Heart of Iron. The first draft is already written. I posted that chapter by chapter over on my Patreon. I am currently in the process of rewrites and revisions with the aim of having it completely polished and published on shelves available for purchase around September 2025. Not 2024 this year, 2025 next year. We're going to get into the timeline specifics soon. As you can see, the book is a little darker, higher stakes, and more action-adventure than the slice of life that I typically post on TikTok. If any of you have read my other works like Citadel and Blackwing, you're not surprised. If you're worried about character differences, let me reassure you there are very few differences in terms of personality, and minority status has not changed at all. JC is still a non-binary bisexual disaster, Cyrus is a bi-romantic asexual disaster, Nicole is a black, autistic, lesbian, not quite disaster, and Bob/Violet is the tired aromantic. Bob/Violet is less powerful magically in Heart of Iron than on TikTok. On TikTok, you just have to step into her cafe, her domain, for her to curse or bless you. In the book, that doesn't happen. She needs your full name or a part of your body, like hair, blood, nails, etc., or to plant an enchanted object on you. But she has a lot of swords and 1,000 years of military experience, so don't think that I've completely declawed her. Conversely, Nicole gets to be more powerful. When we first meet her in the TikTok, she has never cast a spell in her life, not until she meets Michael and joins the Stoughton Street Witches. In the book, she has been doing it for years and is also clairvoyant, specifically the I touch a person or object and they get their whole life story flashing before my eyes kind of deal, so she wears gloves to minimize that. JC is a bit more intense. In the TikTok series, they're a college dropout and have been sober for years. In the book, they're a high school dropout who's only been sober a few months. And while TikTok JC did a few stints in juvie way back in the day, book JC has been in and out of juvie, jail, and prison since they were a teenager, and they are now around 27, 28. They're also diabetic, type 1 specifically. And Cyrus, he's pretty much exactly the same. I didn't have to tinker with him at all. Except while Bob normally goes by Violet to the wider community, he tends to go by Blue for the same reason. skin color. She is purple, he's blue, but he also has a lot of fun with names, and JC bestows upon him the nickname Cyrus for his love of Miley Cyrus songs. Yeah, fairies have a lot of different colored skins, and instead of birthmarks, they have like a marbling effect with like different colors that can be on different parts of their body. I had a lot of fun with that. If you want to see Husnia, Raythu, Drek, Eric, Janine, Patrick, Ghost Hunter, John, etc., sorry, you've got to wait for at least one sequel. Book 1 is just focusing on the core 4 of the CaFae crew. Book 2, Heart of Silver, it brings in the vampires and werewolves, but that is way down the line. Now, you may be wondering, Chris, you already have a huge social media following, a novel and novella series published, another novel scheduled for release in 2025. Why are you publishing this yourself instead of going through a traditional publisher? You'd probably have an easy time finding one willing to pay you for it. Yeah, I probably would, but there are a few reasons why I'm not going that route. For those of you who don't know, traditional publishing is what most authors have done for the last, century or two. We write a story, and then we find a publishing company to purchase the rights to that story, and then they pay for the materials and labor needed to actually get it into our readers' hands. Most books you own are probably traditionally published. Self-publishing is when the author does it all themselves, and it kind of has a bad rep as being not as good quality, or the author couldn't hack it in the real publishing world, so they just uploaded it to Amazon KDP. Which, yeah, some authors do that, but there are plenty of self-published books out there with excellent quality, essentially passing as traditional, and many of them get quite popular. Whether that popularity is justified is a matter of debate. I have done both. Citadel is traditionally published, and my epic fantasy novella series Blackwing is self-published. Traditional publishing has the benefit of, one, they pay for and handle everything. Editors, proofreaders, cover art, the actual physical creation of the book, a little bit of marketing, although not nearly as much as I should in my opinion. You do not give them a dime. By the way, if they do demand payment from you, that's not a publishing company. That is a scam, run very far and very fast in the other direction. In fact, they need to pay you, because the other major benefit of traditional publishing is the advance payment. When I signed my contract for my first novel, Citadel, Blackstone Publishing agreed to give me $20,000 over the course of 2 years before the release, before even the first book sale. It's not enough to live on, but that's still a pretty big benefit. But there are some drawbacks. The biggest one is that they own the rights to your book, which means they can demand changes that you may not agree with. Some publishing companies are a lot better about this than others, viewing the author as a partner rather than someone they can just boss around. Again, Blackstone Publishing did a great job with Citadel, especially with the cover. I had a lot of input that many authors don't get. Some authors are forced to put in romantic tension where there frankly shouldn't be, or make it more explicit, or cut scenes and themes that make the book what it is. We've all heard horror stories. Creative control is a big reason a lot of authors self-publish. Also, slightly off topic, there is a lot of gatekeeping that happens in the publishing world, and it frankly deserves its own video, some of it revolving around race and disabled representation, which I am not nor ever will be an expert on, and queer representation, which I am an expert on. You may have noticed JC is non-binary, specifically a non-binary human, not a robot or monster or alien or fairy. How often do you see that? How often do you see a romantic or asexual rep, bi or pansexuality, trans characters? There's a reason. Oh, and that advance payment, it takes forever to arrive. I was supposed to get the last chunk of that $20K within 30 days of Citadel's release, so by July 20th, 2023. I got it in October. On a related note, because the traditional publisher is paying for everything to put your book on shelves, they get most of your royalties. That is the money made from book sales. I'm only ever going to see 10 to 25% of Citadel royalties, no matter how popular it gets. Compared to self-publishing, where I get 90 to 100% of those royalties, and the payments are quick and on time. I am not tapping my foot for months waiting for it. And finally, speed. Everything in the traditional publishing world takes forever to happen. Not just writing the damn book, but payment, publishing, approving the publishing, editing it again. A lot of you have been asking for a sequel to Citadel. I have one planned. I want to get that to you, but Blackstone hasn't even talked about it since I signed that first contract, and they probably won't until at least spring, which means a sequel won't happen until at least 2026. probably later, compared to self-publishing, where I control the timeline. Because again, Heart of Iron is the first of a series. While I doubt I'll be able to give you a book every single year, I can still crank them out a lot more frequently on my own, to say nothing of any other extras I might want to add, like novellas and short stories. By being the sole owner of those rights, I don't have to wade through a copyright quagmire that's going to slow me down. Now, this is not shitting on traditional publishers, okay? They have their problems just like every other industry, but I will continue to work with them. Just not for this project. So, all that aside, let's talk numbers. Once I have finished the Heart of Iron revisions, the first thing that I am paying for is a content or developmental editor. This is the editor who looks at the book as a whole, focusing on the big problems. They're not concerned about spelling or grammar or anything like that. No, they are concerned about things like, this scene has pacing issues, here's how to fix it, or this character is unnecessary, cut them, or even, this second half makes no sense, you've got to rewrite it. Editors typically charge by the word. For a book this size, that's going to likely be somewhere between $3,300 and $4,400. Next on the list is the line editor. This guy goes deeper. Rather than focus on plot and character, those big overarching problems, their edits are sentence level. Things like, you've used the word bloated 3 times in the last page, let's find another synonym. Or, in chapter 13 you said that this character's eyes were blue, but 3 chapters ago they were brown. Or, this sentence here is too long and rambly and clunky, let's break that up. They also charge by the word, but they tend to be a little bit cheaper. My estimate here is between $2,200 and $3,300. Third is the proofreader. For proofreading, a final polish on spelling and grammar, making it look professional. They charge the same as line editors, $2,200 to $3,300 for a manuscript of this size. Now, sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes editors combine their services. This is especially true of proofreaders and line editors who may bundle their services up so I don't have to fork over a whole $5,000 for the 2 separate things. Sometimes you even get whole companies who will offer to edit your manuscript on all 3 levels for quite a bit cheaper. However, editing tends to be a you get what you pay for kind of deal. And also, I don't know if those editors are being rightfully paid for their time and labor unless we're doing a one-on-one rather than one-on faceless, soulless company. I have worked in the writing industry for 8 years and have long experience of not getting paid my worth, either because the small indie publisher I was working with couldn't pay me, or because the company or person wouldn't pay me because they didn't value my work. And I'm not an editor, I'm an author. I am not doing that to someone else or contributing to that problem if I can help it. So those are the editors who will help me ensure that I have polished my manuscript to a shine, that it is the best possible story that it can be. Sensitivity readers, who I will be recruiting because I am not non-binary, bisexual, black, autistic, or diabetic, are usually best placed sometime between the content editor and the proofreader. Sensitivity readers are often unpaid as they're a type of beta reader, basically a sample size, seeing how the market will respond to your book. Beta reader, beta tester. I've already got several volunteers for that role, so we're all good there. But we're not done. Every book needs an ISBN. This is the barcode and number on the back of your book that allows it to be quickly identified, bought, and sold, not just by individuals, but by companies like Barnes & Noble and even your local library. None of them are going to be putting this on their shelves without this number. Now, Amazon offers one for free for their own site, but if you want to sell outside of Amazon, you gotta actually get a real one, and it's a flat rate of $125. None of us want to judge a book by its cover, but we do, so next is the cover artist. This one's going to be especially tricky because I want to avoid the use of AI art, which steals actual art from actual people without crediting or compensating them. I know, this is the second time I'm bringing ethical practices into this video. I'm just that girl. I literally have a bachelor's degree in social justice, okay? So this is what you're getting. For the Blackwing novella series, I used getcovers.com, which hires a bunch of artists to use stock photos to create the covers. I got these for about $30 a pop. However, while they serve their purpose, they're kind of generic. That's fine for a novella series on a budget, but I want something a little more eye-catching, a little more unique. So, much like the editors, I will likely be hiring an actual person, and those artists tend to charge anywhere from $50 to $500. And don't worry, audiobook listeners, I haven't forgotten about you. Some of you have asked if I would narrate my own book. Even if I was a professionally trained voice actor, which I am not, I have never received any formal performative training, nor do I have the budget for it, I don't have the studio or the setup to make that happen and deliver something of quality. You would be able to hear the traffic from the street, my cat's meowing, everything. And editing it? Oh my god, I can barely tolerate editing my 3-minute TikToks. I am not doing an 8-hour novel. I'm not even editing this video. I've got my editor Nick doing that. So we're gonna hire an audiobook narrator and production team, which will cost anywhere from $2,000 to $5,000. Book distributor. This one might not be entirely necessary, as I can just upload the book separately and one at a time to Amazon and Barnes & Noble and Kobo and everywhere else. But using a single book distributor not only saves me time, but also make the book available to stores that I might not be able to reach or be aware of, especially for you internationals. I'm probably going to use BookBaby, which costs $400. And of course, one of the biggest marketing tools an author has is giveaways and reviews, which usually come at the cost of a free copy of the book, digital, which would be free, or physical, which is not. Also, if my mother and grandmother don't both get a signed copy, it will be an apocalypse. I don't want to die, guys. 100 copies will likely cost around $750. So that leaves us with a subtotal of $11,025 minimum, $17,775 maximum. If I wanted to, I could walk into a bank and ask for that amount in a business loan, and probably get it, or at least some of it. But that's not as fun. And since we're using Kickstarter, which utilizes giving you folks rewards, I've got to factor in the cost of that too. Otherwise, I'll be dipping into my editor or audiobook production money just to be able to mail you what you've ordered, and nobody wants that. Packaging is a big one, and one that most people forget, and is also impossible to estimate until I know exactly how many people are ordering what. We'll say $700 for the amount of people I think will do this. And yes, this is international. I'm also offering signed copies of Blackwing Volume 1 and Citadel as rewards. I have to purchase copies of both, although at heavy discounts because I wrote them. 100 Blackwing copies is actually cheaper, which is why it's offered as a lower tiered reward. Thank you, Amazon. That'll only cost me $350. 100 Citadel copies is closer to $1,000, that's why it's a higher tiered item. Wait, but didn't you say that 100 Heart of Iron copies cost $750? Why not use Amazon for that? Because I would need them to be advanced copies before release date. Author copies is what Amazon calls it, and while that company delivers good quality items to customers, with advanced copies, they're shit. I ordered a copy of Blackwing a few weeks before release for a final read-through, and I had a dozen pages falling out of it. Apparently, they don't give authors the same care and concern as our readers. I refuse to give you that crummy, falling apart, crumbly product, so we're going with Ingram. So our new subtotals are $13,075 minimum, $19,825 maximum. But wait, there's more! It's taxes. This whole campaign is probably going to count as income for the purposes of taxes. If I'm wrong, awesome, but I'm probably not. And I'd rather wager on that than the other way. I believe in putting aside more than you probably need to, because then you're never caught off guard. Not that I can always do that thanks to our hellscape of an economy. So I'll want to put aside 20% of whatever I get from Kickstarter and still have enough for use for the book. And then Kickstarter itself is going to take a cut before I go anywhere near this money, anywhere from 8 to 10%. We'll assume 10. So now, the new grand totals for self-publishing Heart of Iron are $17,259 minimum, $26,169 maximum. For the sake of simplicity, I'm just putting the Kickstarter goal at $18,000. If I get that, I'm pretty much guaranteed the ability to get you a quality product that I'm actually going to be proud of. So that's it. That's the goal. That's what I need. That's what's on the Kickstarter page. But have you ever heard of a stretch goal? Stretch goals are basically bonus goals. If I hit my minimum amount, I can do the thing. If I get the stretch goal, I can do more. One of the things that I want to start in 2024 is a line of CaFae Latte candles. Some of you may already know I've collaborated with Eat Me Boutique to make a line of body products based on CaFae flavors like Hellfire Mocha, Siren Song Tea, Unicorn Blood, etc. If you're watching this on YouTube, they're linked in the description if you want to get a little something for yourself or your partner. We're going to follow the same basic principle, but with candles. The candle maker, who is also my Discord moderator Fiend, really only needs $2,000 to get that going. So we're going to take our pre-tax maximum of $19,825, add $2,000, then add the cut for taxes, then add the cut for Kickstarter, making our stretch goal $28,809. And to think I used to be bad at math. I'm bored, let's have another stretch. As much as I believe that stories are among some of the best creations of humanity, that they can change and improve lives, I'm also a big believer in action. Boots on the ground, helping the community. 180 Degrees is a local nonprofit dedicated to helping those previously incarcerated rebuild their lives back in society. They also run a lot of homeless shelters and assist those in family crisis, but that previously incarcerated part caught my eye because it is a huge part of JC's journey in Heart of Iron, trying to acclimate back into society, trying to redeem themselves for the things they've done, and also fighting fairies, vampires, and trolls. Okay, maybe not so much that last part, but how should I know? I've never been to prison. But the best part of 180 Degrees is that it is located right here in Minnesota, which is where Heart of Iron and CaFae Latte are located, specifically in the fictional town of Blackwater, which is heavily based on my childhood hometown of Hastings, about 30 minutes southeast of St. Paul. So let's go big or go home. I want to be able to cut 180 Degrees a check for $10,000, making our second stretch goal $50K, specifically $50,382.28, but that doesn't roll off the tongue. So those are my goals. $18,000 to write and publish the book in all formats. That is what I need to hit, so that's what you're going to see when you hit that link in the description. $29,000 to give me extra wiggle room and also start a CaFae Latte candle line. $50,000 to help the community in a way that really aligns with the themes of this book. That's a lot of money. Chris, why the hell should we give you that much money? Because I'm pretty and I said please. Because you're going to get a lot of awesome rewards. I have got a whole list of rewards that you can choose from depending on your budget and desires. Obvious choices, obvious. Signed physical copies of Heart of Iron as well as digital or audio copies are on that list. I am also offering signed copies of my other works, including Citadel and Blackwing, of course, and by the time Heart of Iron comes out in late 2025, I'll have another novel out, a dark fantasy currently titled The Witch Who Traded with Death. See, I told you traditional publishers were all right. They're handling all of that, so I can handle this. Teamwork. It makes the dream work. There's also character art. I hired an incredible artist named Noreen to draw JC, Violet, Cyrus, and Nicole as they appear in the books, and they did not disappoint. Obviously, these will eventually be available in my merch store, but if you want a signed character poster, or all 4 of them, then you've got to get them through the Kickstarter. There will be presents from Yarn Granny, who is a minor character in the book. We even learn her real name. I'll crochet you something small like a mesh or lacy scarf like Bob wears, bandana, glasses case, drawstring pouch, hat, headband, etc. Guys, my mother and I both have way too much yarn and a crippling addiction to this hobby. Please help. And finally, the top tier item, you can help me write a CaFae Latte skit. Obviously, I have the right to say no to your ideas if it doesn't work within the world or characters, and I have final say on everything. But if there is a specific mythological creature that you want the CaFae crew to run into, or a specific demographic that you're a part of, or an issue that you want discussed, I will use that concept for a skit and probably ask your help with fine-tuning some details if it's particularly obscure or unknown. This campaign runs until February 29th, specifically stopping at 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time, so you've got a little less than a month. I really think we can hit this goal, and if we extend ourselves a bit, we can also do a lot of great things for charity with a single check. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit the link in the description. It'll take you right to my Kickstarter page. If you're watching this on my Kickstarter, get whatever reward you want. You've worked so hard. Splurge. You deserve a treat. That won't come for a year and a half. Thank you all so much for your love and support, and I will see you soon. Bye, lovelies.